See? Not so bad.
Years after the events of Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, dinosaurs now coexist with mankind. Owen and Claire now live with Maisie, a human clone of great value. Meanwhile, Ellie Sattler is back, recruiting Alan Grant to assist her in preventing the plague of genetically modified locusts from wiping out a vast amount of the world's food supply, and as a result, killing millions of people. Jurassic World Dominion is touted as the finale in the Jurassic franchise. As such, it brings together the key cast of the trilogies for a somewhat exciting and thrilling entry, but also an entry into the franchise that proves that it should never have been a franchise to begin with. Jurassic World Dominion is a film that constantly feels like it's straining to be a film, opting for set piece after set piece with familiar returns and features. The first major problem with the film is that of the dialogue. The dialogue of Dominion is some of the worst ever put into film. Characters rarely talk like real human beings, constantly stating facts and explaining the story, their motivations and pretty much everything else going on. This is a movie that totally ignores the show don't tell rule of filmmaking, and it makes for a very stilted and unnatural experience. The characters of the movie are not that much better. The highlights are the cast of the original trilogy, who are given the best material and whose characters feel more grounded and believable than their newer cast members. Alan Grant is back, again a slightly grouchy old-fashioned guy with a dislike for children. It's good to see him on screen again, but he doesn't get a lot to do other than follow Ellie Sattler around, and even that is poorly explained. Why, for example, does Ellie need a paleontologist and expert in dinosaur bones to assist her in gathering locust DNA and infiltrating a shady genetics laboratory? He and Jeff Goldblum are welcome returns, but the story and reasoning surrounding their return is flimsy at best. Jeff is perhaps the best thing about Dominion. In many ways, Jeff Goldblum's Ian Malcolm is the comic relief of the movie, delivering deadpan observations, pointing out the incredulity of several moments, and offering some sort of grounding for this science fiction movie. Sadly, his character is not in the film a lot in comparison to the other leads, but he does make his presence known. It's also noticeable that Jeff's performance often feels like he's playing a variation of himself, as opposed to the fictional Ian Malcolm. The cast members of the new trilogy are given most of the screen time and attention. Sadly though, these are the weakest and least interesting moments of the film. The new cast of characters are very one-dimensional, lacking in originality, and in comparison to the original trilogy cast, they are noticeably more exaggerated and larger than life. The original trilogy cast consists of 2 paleontologists and a mathematician, believable and grounded characters, while the new cast consists of an ex-Navy Marine, a clone and the leader of a dinosaur protection group, far more outlandish and exaggerated characters. This is one of the many ways in which Dominion pushes the franchise further into science fiction blockbuster territory akin to the Fast and Furious, something the earlier films avoided. The action and thrilling scenes of Dominion are quite effective, if lacking in originality. As the 6th entry into the franchise, it's clear that there are only so many action set pieces one can do that also feature dinosaurs. This time around, the believability of many of these sequences is pushed farther than ever, as is the technology used to explain the possibility of certain dinosaur motivations and actions. Many of the action scenes and thrilling moments of this movie are over-telegraphed and totally unnecessary. These scenes often feel as though they are inserted to prevent the audience from growing bored with the story and characters, indicating that perhaps the story and characters are lacking, which they are. The story surrounding these action scenes and thrilling moments is a weak one. The locust plague element is the most interesting part of the movie, and the part of the movie concerning the original trilogy characters, while the globe-trotting hunt taken on by the newer cast rarely feels like it's part of the same movie, and instead feels like a bad Mission Impossible movie with dinosaurs. It's only when these two stories merge in the second half of the film that things start to get a bit more fun and engaging, but at this point, the story also starts to repeat beats and moments of prior Jurassic movies, intended as homages and references, but coming across as lazy and uninspired. Luckily, the special effects and the craft that's gone into the making of Jurassic World Dominion are quite good. There are more dinosaurs than ever in this entry, many of which were created using animatronics and puppets, with CGI being used only for those that cannot possibly be created for real. It's always good to see real effects as opposed to CGI, and this film does a good job at mixing both together. The score of Dominion is another weak point of the movie. It barely resembles the classic scores of the Jurassic movies before it, and there's a distinct lack of familiar notes and uses of the classic iconic theme song. It appears Michael Giacchino deliberately avoided mimicking the John Williams themes, but doing such a thing would have only enhanced the film, making it a little more recognisable and emotive. Jurassic World Dominion is sometimes fun and engaging, particularly in the second half of its runtime when all the characters are together. However, it is not a good film. The story, the characters and the writing are incredibly weak and uninspired. The movie features some of the worst dialogue and explanations ever put into film, with characters being thrust into situations that don't make complete sense for them and others being relegated to simply explaining what is happening rather than acting like real living people. There is fun to be had with Dominion, but this movie is, above all else, an indication that this should never have been a franchise to begin with.